So, over the past few years, I've noticed a trend where students will use artificial intelligence AI tools like ChatGPT or Claude or others to generate academic bibliographies. I've seen this a few times where students will arrive at the library with a list of sources that they want to access and they're not having success finding those sources. And I just wanted to go through an example bibliography created by AI to sort of show you a little bit of how it gets created and why this is not a tool that's suited to the task of creating bibliographies of sources. So I asked Claude to create an academic bibliography of sources about this research topic: how streaming platforms are transforming the movie industry. After a little bit of what it called thinking, it generated a bibliography of 14 sources. I'm not going to go through these one by one, but I will show you a few examples of the sources that it generated and what the shortcomings of this approach might involve for you. To start, I'm going to look at this second source here. The authors are Carr and Sharma, 2024, Impact of Over-the-Top Platforms on Traditional Cinema, Econometric Analysis and Consumer Preference Study, from the Journal of Arts, Aesthetics, and Film Research. And it provides me with a direct link here to the PDF. The title of the article, though, I notice immediately is similar but different. So it's Impact of Over-the-Top Platforms on Traditional Theatrical Revenue, a predictive analysis of decline trends and future adaptation strategies. So this title is incorrect, is the long and short of it. It's not a real title. And if I search for this exact title, I don't find any other article that has this exact title. So this is an invention of the AI. It's using language that's similar or based on the same patterns as the types of sources that would exist about this topic, but it's inventing the title of this article. Another thing that I'll notice is that the authors here are not the same. So this has 3 authors here with different names from the authors that were identified as the authors of this source. So these are also incorrect. The year is marked as 2024 when the real article was published in 2025. And finally, and perhaps most interestingly, the title of the journal that they've identified, Journal of Arts, Aesthetics, and Film Research, is also incorrect. So this is from the Journal of Advance and Future Research, and it has the acronym JAAFR, and that's what's in the URL for this source. It's interesting to me that the AI took that acronym from the URL, and it invented the name of a journal. I searched this. This is not a journal that exists. The Journal of Arts, Aesthetics, and Film Research is not a real journal. So the entirety of this reference here is incorrect. This is not a source that exists. Everything about it is wrong. Moving along, I'd like to look for my next example at this fourth entry. So this is an article from Media, Culture, and Society, published in 2024, called Pandemic Impacts on Cinema Industry and Over-the-Top Platforms in China. Or, so this bibliography says. There's a DOI link that I can use to go directly to this source, and that's what I did. Now, what I notice is that there is a source here called Pandemic Impacts on Cinema Industry and Over-the-Top Platforms in China. However, the name of the journal here is actually Media International Australia, whereas the AI-generated reference attributes this to Media, Culture, and Society. This is not a small error. This is an important distinction. Knowing what journal published what article allows us to evaluate its quality and its impact. It allows us to know what processes the authors went through in order to have their work published, and the sort of rigorous academic oversight of the source. So having it misattributed is an important distinction. This is a major error that has been made by AI. So even though the rest of the information is correct, the authors are correct, the title is correct, The fact that it was published in a different place than AI identified is a significant error. And it means also that if we use this reference as it's presented to us here by AI, we will have an error in our list of references. It could be that this is a great source and one that we would want to use for a research paper on this topic, but we can't use this reference in this form because it's not correct. The next example that I'll look at is number 12 on our list here. So this is published as part of the proceedings of the International Conference on Social Sciences in the 21st Century. And the title of the article is From Theaters to Streaming, the Influence of Algorithms on Film Culture and Consumption. And it gives us a direct link that we can use to find presumably the real original source. When I visit that link, I get this information. So again, we have a correct title here. It is indeed part of the proceedings of the 9th International Conference on Social Sciences in the 21st Century. The big error that I found is that the authors are different. So here we have Lamela and Celardi as the authors identified of the real source, but in the AI-generated bibliography, we have Benally and Reski. So these might be real people. They might even be researchers who do work related to streaming platforms and algorithms and film culture, but they're not the authors of this particular source. And just like the problem of misattributing it to the wrong journal, like we had in the last example, misattributing a source to the wrong authors is not a small error. It's a big and significant error. We need to know who wrote and created these sources. We need to be able to evaluate their expertise and authority on that topic and why their ideas are relevant and important to our work. And so having the wrong names is going to cause us problems because we're not going to be able to do that properly. So again, AI is demonstrating that it's deriving these outputs from language patterns. So the likelihood that certain names or certain words will be associated with a topic, and not deriving the outputs from real existing sources, or at least not fully. So my recommendation is not to use AI in this way or for this task of generating an academic bibliography. I went through all 14 of these sources, and there's only a couple really that have no issues at all with the bibliographic entry. The vast majority of them are either making small errors, some of them don't exist at all. And so on the whole, this bibliography is not a good quality bibliography. It's not one that a student would be proud to submit as part of their work. And further to that, using a tool like this in this way to generate content that then you submit without consulting the actual sources in your bibliography, this constitutes academic misconduct on this campus anyway. You want your bibliography to be filled with sources that you've actually read and understood, and that you're drawing out, the good ideas from those sources, and you feel confident that those are good quality sources that are going to reflect well on you and your work. So keep that in mind. If you need an alternative approach to this, my recommendation is always to use the library. Here's just a very basic search I put together for streaming platforms or Netflix and movie industry or film industry. This generates some results for us that we could use as academic sources. These are real sources that exist, and they're going to be generally higher quality than the stuff that you find through AI platforms. It might feel like extra work in the beginning, but if you imagine the tedium of going through this list of 14 different sources, many of which are invented or incorrect, you start to realize that it's actually not more work to use the library. It's just a different type of work. And I would argue that it's a type of work that's more satisfying and more interesting and enjoyable to be working with real sources and real content and looking at what real human authors have to say about things. That was a little bit longer than I expected it to be, but I hope it was helpful. If you like these kind of videos where we go through like the practical problems of doing research in the modern era, difficulties around evaluating and assessing the quality of information, finding good and relevant sources. All of that stuff is stuff that we cover on this channel. So please consider subscribing to the channel if you like that kind of content. And if you ever have any questions about how to navigate these systems and find your way to good academic sources that you can use for your research, then please get in touch with us in the library. We have really kind librarians and generous library staff who are very happy to help you out and actually, enjoy helping connect students with good academic information sources. So please get in touch if you have any questions or you're struggling through any of this. That being said, have a wonderful day, and we hope to see you around the library soon. So take care.